Hey Reddit, what are some company secrets you can reveal for a company you no longer work for? I worked at NASA as a contractor for 2 years. 90% of the computing hardware was very antiquated and out of date. I saw a lot of Dell computers from the mid-2000s still being used. Yes, even pre-thin style monitors, that beige or off-white color. They are pretty underfunded and spend most of their money on more advanced hardware like supercomputers, large servers, etc. But the basic hardware is really out of date. In fact, the whole place looked like a museum of the 1990s. The architecture, the dress styles, the lighting, carpet, and so on. It was very strange, almost eerie. I worked at Great Clips. The stylists are strongly advised to only cut a client's hair between 10 to 15 minutes. If the stylist's average haircut time is more than 15 to 17 minutes, they might get talked to by the manager about speeding up their services, or written up, if it continues to happen. Stylists also get paid based on how fast and how many clients they have that day. If a person comes in with a long, tangled rat's nest and wants a complicated haircut that takes you an hour to deal with, they can fuck up your timed average for the day and fuck your pay. This is about a decade old, so may no longer be applicable, but Microsoft has special pricing for non-profits that is about 1/10 the regular price. They don't advertise this, so a lot of resellers still sell the software to their non-profit customers at the regular price and enjoy the higher profit margin. Worked in several chain restaurants through college as a cook. Nothing to report that you probably haven't heard already, but I can tell you, most of the things you've been warned about are true. But the best thing I can tell you is, don't go to a restaurant within 30 minutes or so of its closing time. The cooks have already cleaned in an attempt to go home. At best you're getting the scraps left on the counter. At worst, well, you've pissed off the cooks. Oh, and I cooked at Hooters. They literally train the waitresses on how to flirt with customers. No, they don't like you. In fact, if you're a particularly odd looking or annoying customer, they tell the other waitresses about you, and they look at you through the kitchen windows and mock you. Come to Walmart Deli after 7 to 8 p.m. We mark everything down. You're welcome. I worked at a luxury movie theater for 3 years. Complete with service to your seat, oversized recliner seats, pillows, and blankets. The pillows and blankets were never washed. Ever. But the break room was stocked with brand new ones. Always ask for a new blanket. I used to work in financial services. Agents would sell products based on the commission and not on how well the investment actually performed. Our customer service department was pretty much always taking calls from people who had been deceived about what to expect from their investment. I work for the post office now, and I will honestly say I have never worked with such hard-working people before. There are problems with managers expecting you to get things done quicker than humanly possible, and a lot of our equipment is old and falling apart, but I honestly feel like the vast majority of my coworkers are trying to take care of our customers and to just get home safely. I ran the lens lab at a Pearl Vision back in the day. The most expensive frames we carried, the Armanus, cost us about $20 and cost you $400 to $600. The most expensive lenses, outside of real ophthalmic specialties, what we called MPROs, polycarbonate aspheric with anti-glare, anti-scratch, cost them less than $20 and cost you $400. So a $1,000 pair of Armani glasses with all the bells and whistles? It cost about $40. The lab guy who made it was making $12/HR. The lab itself, top of the line from Essilor, was about $250K, peanuts compared to the profit margin. All staff, even just sales staff, had to wear lab coats and glasses at all times. If you didn't need glasses, you just wore glasses with zero prescription. The company would provide you outright with an eye exam every year, and once per year with a pair of prescription glasses and prescription sunglasses, top of the line, as long as they were in style that year. That was actually a cool perk. Oh, this was one of my favorites. In Maine, at the time, Medicare wouldn't cover anti-scratch coating for adults. All of our CR39, the basic plastic lens, super easy to scratch, just came with that pre-applied. We were actually supposed to intentionally strip that coating for Manuka customers, costing us time and labor while depriving the customer. 99% of the time we just didn't bother. AskReddit I worked at Target and PetSmart for some time and they both had this weird policy about stealing that I've heard applies to most big chains. Basically, a regular employee could not stop a low price thief. Obviously we can't let someone just walk out with a TV or live animal, but I was forbid from doing anything about small shoplifters. It's bad for the image of the store, and if you happen to be wrong, there could be a lawsuit or discrimination accusation that could cause a lot of trouble. So most of the times they just let you walk out fully knowing you stole something. At PetSmart, I happened to be working the register when a customer came up and alerted me that there was someone stealing a bunch of dog shampoo and shoving it in her purse. The location didn't have many employees and all the beauty supplies were kept way at the back. I called my supervisor over and she said not to do anything. When the lady came to ring up one very small thing, the shampoos were very noticeably sticking out of her bag. My supervisor asked if she needed to pay for them, and the person said no, and we just let her walk out. Apparently if we think someone's stealing we are supposed to nice it out of them. If not, oh well. It's a chain store, so it's not like losing this merchandise is such a big deal, I suppose. Worked call center for Sprint Nextel. This was before smartphones, so tech support and customer support were relatively simple. Staff turnover was so high that you couldn't get fired, no matter how bad a CSR you were. If you turned up on time and sat at your desk the entire shift, no one gave a shit. Sometimes the exorbitant wait times were due to only having 2 people on shift for the entire network. Sometimes they were because CSRS would keep the line open after a customer disconnected to avoid taking another call. The security identification system means jack shit. If you've ever had an ex-stalker or anyone turn up where you live after thinking they couldn't possibly know, blame the lazy CSR who ignored the warning notes and security protocol and gave all your information away. When they say they are going to put you on hold, but there's no music, you're actually muted, and we can hear everything you say. Customer service, billing and tech support were all the same people. Tech support was a roulette of good knowledgeable people. We used to have access to customers' online accounts for tech support needs, but we could also see any texts or old school MMS messages. All calls are recorded. All of them. They're all stored for an indeterminate amount of time in case there's a legal need for it. Car insurance. Your credit score is a huge factor in determining your rates. People disproportionately think it's a speeding ticket in their driving history. Sure, it does. But if you wrote 2 identical policies for identical cars with 2 identical people in the same zip code, but a huge difference in credit score, you'd see completely disproportionate prices. Most agents don't talk about it, and in a bigger national companies, they'll likely automatically escalate the call to a specialist. Worked at PetSmart. I was actually told by a manager that it wasn't my responsibility as a goddamn pet care associate to tell people things like a plecto, an algae-eating fish that grows a foot, was inappropriate for a 10-gal tank. I don't know if it was that particular PetSmart or if they are all like that, but they definitely prioritized profit margin over animal welfare. You have people like me who actually give a shit, but it's just a few of us against a tidal wave of ignorance and straight up negligent malice. I'd be curious what other PetSmart workers have experienced. Please chime in. Throw away for legal reasons. I'm a former senior executive at Reckitt Benckiser, also known as RB. This is a company that owns global brands such as Vanish, Mucinex, Strepsils, Durex, Skull, and many more. Household goods and health products. First secret. RB was created from the merger of Reckitt and Coleman and Benckiser. The latter was a chemical company that made its money from selling gas to the Nazis. Some companies have admitted their part in doing this, such as BASF and Bayer, but RB has been able to bury this successfully for many years. Second secret. RB used to have a pharma division in the US that was behind a known drug, Suboxone/Subutex. These are drugs for people who are hooked to opiates. They essentially managed to convert addicts from opiates into addicts to Suboxone. All done legally, but knowing internally that they were creating more damage to consumers than the damage opiates would cause. This part of the business was spinned off few years ago into its own company. Third secret. RB has products that do nothing. In Europe, they sell all sort of products that have wide marketing claims which are entirely bullshit. Some of these products include brands such as Finish, Durex, and Calgon. Fourth secret. RB is part owned by the elusive Reinman family. These are a couple of very private brothers who inherited a large share ownership into RB. Very little can be found about them, but the leadership team knew not to fuck with them. They had full control over the previous year and owned the former chairman of the board. Reckitt Benckiser is one big marketing scam after the next. They consider themselves a fast-moving consumers goods company. This means, to move fast, every year tons of new products would come to shelves. Literally same dog with different collar, new pack, new marketing gimmicks, and new TV campaigns. Lastly, biggest secret of all. This is a company that has been defrauding shareholders, investors and also fooling analysts thanks to constantly reshaping its business. If a particular area or region wouldn't have the expected results, the business would transform to maybe say Europe and North America are counted as one big region. This makes it impossible for analysts to compare like for like results, because over the last 10 years, they've restructured the business every single year consistently to fool everyone. Being a butcher, I found out that a lot of things you're told to do goes against food hygiene. Bit of meat fell on the floor, pick it up and give it a wash. Meat hit that point, it can't be in the window. Mince it. Chicken will go bad tomorrow. Kebab it. Just after Christmas we had a load of extra bacon that we didn't sell and was taking ages to go. It got to the point where the bacon was sticky and started growing mold/fur. I was told to scrape off the mold/fur and put it in the window for display. The joints and the sausages were hung up with rusted hooks and put me way off. The butcher's got top cleanliness ratings for some reason. I worked at an independent gym, but at most gyms the sign up special is only there to mark up the perceived value of the membership. It's to convince you to buy into it with the idea that you're getting a special discount. The reality is that the original price doesn't actually exist and the deal or discount you get doesn't actually expire. It's just the standard membership rates that everybody is paying. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and at least at my location, all the shit was frozen. The free samples are the oldest donuts we have, and when serving, we pick donuts from the back of the tray, as those are the oldest. Also, my location wasn't too high volume, so we didn't switch out coffee every 18 minutes, like we were supposed to. Coffee could be a few hours old. Sometimes donuts were over 5 or 8 hours old, if they were a low demand kind. I worked at Raising Cane's for 2 years. If other stores keep up with the standards we had, there's nothing really to say. Basically the entire place was cleaned every day, and I worked in the kitchen, and at the counter. Even half the walls. Nothing was frozen except for the fries. The sauce and coleslaw was made in-house every day, and no food violations I can think of. Honestly a dope ass first job. One thing though, there's MSG in everything.